Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Dr. Mir Masroor Hussain from Medicare Clinic Soil 1920 in HSR Layout, Bangalore. I'm a general practitioner, general physician, diabetologist, and infectious diseases specialist. And today I'm going to talk to you about a lot of patients who are suffering from several infectious diseases. This could be different kind of bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites. And when a person is infected with any of these organisms, their perception levels tend to change. The way their mind works, their insight works tends to change, and they start imagining different things which do not exist in their life. The simple example of many of the symptoms that they develop, one of them could be a delusion of grandeur, which means they start imagining that they are much bigger than what they really are and try to follow pursuits which are much beyond their ability and beyond the reality of what their life is. And this can have terrible consequences on their future and all the people around them. Many of them, most of the time, try to want to become chiefs of units that they are in. This could be a family unit, this could be an organizational unit, or any other unit, and the fact that they have an infection tends to affect their insight and perception, and they make terrible insights. They develop terrible mistakes. They make terrible mistakes which can have a devastating consequences on their actions. So let me tell you, just to highlight that no matter how big a delusion of grandeur you have and how big you try to become, I will tell you the stories of nine biggest rulers in the Quran and what happened to them, so that you understand and develop some insight and perception. Let me begin with the first example in the Quran, which is of the ruler of Firaun, who is portrayed as the ultimate archetype of tyranny, arrogance, and disbelief. Mentioned frequently in the Quran as the adversary of Prophet Musa, he claimed divinity, saying that I am your Lord the Most High, enslaved the children of Israel, and was drowned by Allah with his body preserved as a sign and an example for people to see of what happened to him. He represents the corrupt misuse of power. He divided his people into factions, persecuting the Israelites and ordering the killing of their newborn male children while sparing females to weaken them. He refused to accept Allah's authority, famously asking his vizier Haman to build a tower to see Musa's God and declaring, O eminent ones, I have. I am trying to see and find out if Musa's God really exists. Uh, he also said that I have not known you to have a God other than me. And he was a ruler during Musa's time who, despite seeing miracles, refused to free the Israelites or believe in the message of one. While pursuing Musa and the Israelites, Pharaoh was drowned in the sea. The Quran states his body was saved to serve as a lasting lesson for humanity. Uh, Pharaoh's story is used in Islamic tradition as an eternal warning against arrogance and injustice, showing that even the most powerful rulers can be destroyed by God. Then we have the second example of Dhul Qurnain, the two horned one, is a righteous and powerful and just ruler. Mentioned in Surah Kahf 1883 to 101 of the Quran, he was granted divine authority, knowledge, and means to travel to the extremes of the east and west, establishing justice, protecting the oppressed, and building a massive iron barrier to contain Gog and Magog, which are referred to as Yajuj and Majuj, until the end of times. He was a pious, faithful servant of Allah, not necessarily a prophet, though some accounts suggest he was a righteous king. Scholars debate his historical identity with popular theories, including Cyrus the Great or a Yemeni king rather than Alexander the Great. Interpreters vary, with suggestion including ruling the east and the west, two horns or eras, a crown with two protrusions, or representing Medo-Persian Empire. Allah granted him extensive power, resources, and knowledge to achieve these missions. He had three major journeys. To the west, he traveled to a dark, muddy spring, often interpreted as the Black Sea, and established justice. To the east, he reached the area of sunrise, where he found people living in primitive conditions. A mountain barrier, he reached a place between two mountains where a people threatened by Gog and Magog resided. He built a wall of iron and copper to protect them, stating it would remain until God's promise arrives. Just governance was his trademark. Dhul Qarnain treated people with justice, rewarding the righteous and punishing the corrupt, constantly attributing his achievements to Allah's mercy. The barrier built by Dhul Qarnain plays a critical role in Islamic apocalyptic literature. The release of Gog and Magog, which many people believe has already happened from this barrier, is one of the major signs of the day of resurrection. The third ruler we are going to talk about is about Suleiman in the Quran, is a wise prophet, king and son of Prophet Dawood, granted an unparalleled kingdom by Allah. This was unparalleled because there was no ruler in the history of this world who was given the kind of kingdom given to King Suleiman. He was given miraculous powers, including commanding jinn, understanding animal speech, and controlling the wind. His story highlights gratitude, humility, justice, and ultimate unseen power of Allah. Key aspects of Suleiman, extraordinary kingdom and miracles. Allah granted him power over the jinn, who built structures and made molten copper flow. For him, he could understand the language of birds and command the wind for travel. Uh, then we have the Suleiman sent a message to Queen Bilqis inviting her to submit to Allah. She eventually accepted Islam after seeing his extraordinary kingdom and miracles. Then we have the story of ants. In a famous narrated interaction, Suleiman instructed his army to divert to avoid crushing a colony of ants, highlighting his mercy and kindness. Death as a lesson, he passed away while standing on his staff overseeing the jinn. They continued working unaware of his death until an ant creature consumed the staff and his body fell, proving that only Allah knows the unseen. Key surahs, his stories are prominently featured in Surah Al-Naml 27, Surah Sad 38, emphasizing his resilience on Allah, his piety, and his constant gratitude despite his vast wealth. Humility in power, despite having unprecedented authority, he always remained humble, attributed everything to Allah, and focused on gratitude. Uh, then we have King Aziz of Egypt, who was very significantly mentioned in Surah 12, Surah Yusuf. The high ranking minister who purchased Prophet Yusuf as a slave, treated him with honor, and later became entangled in a scandal initiated by his wife Zulekha. The Quran refers to him by this title, meaning the powerful or governor, rather than a proper name, indicating a top government rule during that period. He was the purchaser of Yusuf, a man from Egypt, who bought Yusuf and told his wife to treat him kindly, hoping to benefit from him or adopt him. Role in the scandal, he largely ignored the initial evidence of his wife's culpability when she attempted to seduce Yusuf, initially accepting her accusation against Yusuf. His house acted as a place of safety where Yusuf grew and was established in Egypt, transitioning from a slave to a position of trust, fulfilling Allah's plan. Al Aziz is interpreted by the commentators not as a name but as a title denoting his powerful status in Egypt. Uh, then we have the story of Midian, which was ruled by chiefs called Mala. And we all are aware of the story of Midian in the Quran. Is mentioned 10 times in the Quran, primarily as a community to whom the Prophet Shuaib was sent and as a place where Prophet Musa fled from Egypt. The Midianites were known for fraudulent commercial practices, shortchanging weights, and polytheism, leading to their destruction by a divine roar or violent electric charge. Prophet Shuaib, known as the companions of the world, Ashabu al Aikab, or people of Madian, they were warned by Shuaib, also referred to as their brother, to worship Allah and to stop their corrupt businesses dealings such as reducing weights and robbing travelers. Midian is mentioned in Surah Al Qasas 20:28, Taha 40 as a region where Musa fled from Firaun and the land of refuge. where he met Prophet Shuaib or his daughter and stayed for roughly 10 years. Due to their refusal to repent, the people of Midian were destroyed, leaving their land utterly abandoned, often cited alongside the stories of Ad, Thamud, and Lut. Scholars generally locate Midian in the Arabian Peninsula, specifically in the Tabuk province of modern day Saudi Arabia, east of the Gulf of Aqaba. Key accounts are found in Surah Al Araf 785 to 93, Surah Hud 1184 to 95, and Surah Al Qasas 28. And then we have the story of Isa, who was also sent with a message of God. Is a revered prophet and messenger in the Quran, mentioned 25 times as Isa ibn Maryam and Al Masih, the Messiah. He is highlighted for his virgin birth, miracles by God's permission, and teaching strict monotheism. The Quran affirms he was not crucified or killed, but raised to heaven, and he will return before the day of judgment. When he came on the earth, he was like a ruler who told what is the right thing to do, but most of his followers refused to believe in his message and actually tried to kill him. The Quran clearly states Isa is a servant of Allah and not the son of God nor part of a trinity. He is referred to as Al Masih, Ruh Minhu, a spirit from God, Kalimatullah, a word from God. And the Quran states that Jesus was neither killed nor crucified, but it was made to appear so, and Allah raised him up. The second coming of Isa is believed to return as a major sign on the day of judgment to defeat false Messiah Dajjal and establish justice. And the next example we are going to talk about is Musa, is the most frequently mentioned individual in the Quran, appearing 136 times as a prominent prophet, messenger, and lawgiver. His life and struggle against Pharaoh are detailed across numerous chapters, primarily highlighting his role in delivering the Israelites receiving the Torah, and his unwavering faith, emphasizing themes of God's sovereignty and downfall of tyranny. The Quran recounts his infancy placed in the river found by Pharaoh's wife, his accidental killing of an Egyptian fleeing to Midian, his marriage, and his commission at the burning bush. The Quran talks about was given 9 clear signs, including his staff turning into serpent and his hand turning white. Struggle with Pharaoh. Unlike the biblical account, Quran describes Pharaoh's wife finding Moses, and it prominently features Pharaoh's minister Haman. He is revered as a prophet who spoke directly to God. The story emphasizes the triumph of faith over tyranny and provides moral lessons, particularly in the story of Al Khidr. Uh, and also, we have to remember that Musa was often troubled by his own followers, and they, in spite of being from the Israelites themselves troubled him in many ways and caused him a lot of distress. The next ruler we are going to talk about is the Queen of Sheba, often referred as Bilqis in Islamic tradition, appears in the Quran in Surah Naml 27:20 to 44 as a wise, wealthy, and powerful ruler of Saba, which is modern day Yemen, and who worshipped the sun. She submits to Allah after being impressed by Prophet Suleiman's power, wisdom, and miraculous transportation of a throne. The Hoopoe bird, Suleiman learns of a kingdom through the Hoopoe, which reports that she rules a prosperous land but worships the sun rather than Allah. Suleiman sends a letter via the bird inviting her to submit to Allah, which is Tawheed, and stop acting haughtily, which causes her to consult her advisors and send gifts. From this story, we come to know that what somebody who is ruling a certain place fears is when another ruler comes in their position, they may subject them to slavery and all kinds of a torturous treatment, which is very well demonstrated in the story of Queen Sheba. She feared that if her kingdom would be conquered by Suleiman, she would be subjugated to slavery and a lot of torture would be done. So many people who have these kind of paranoid fears or paranoid illnesses generally have this perception that if somebody else becomes the chief of the unit which they are in, they may be rendered slaves and be subject to torturous treatment. This is very well depicted in the story of Queen Sheba. Recognizing Suleiman's divine power, she travels to his kingdom, uh, and seeing the miraculous power and his palace made of glass, she declares her submission to Allah, renouncing her previous practices. Uh, the chapter mentions the people of Sheba, referencing their agricultural prosperity, gardens, and their eventual downfall due to ingratitude to God. And then we have the last ruler that we are going to talk about, which is our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who lived from 570 to 632 CE and is considered as the final prophet in Islam, born in Mecca and revered for establishing worship. Often young, he was known for honesty as a merchant before receiving revelations at 610 CE. At the age of 40, he migrated to Medina 622 CE, uniting Arabia under Islam before his death. He was known as Al Amin, the trustworthy, and Al Sadiq, the truthful, due to his integrity. At age 40, he received the first revelation of Quran from the angel Jibrail in Cave Hira in 610 CE. His message of worship and social justice challenged the structure of Makkah, resulting in severe persecution of him and his followers. The resistance he faced was not because of the worship that he proclaimed, but because he said, "I have a divine revelation which will change the social structure of Makkah," and this caused an enormous amount of violence and resistance from the chiefs of Makkah, who did not want the social structure of Makkah to be changed. To escape persecution, he and his followers migrated from Makkah to Medina, Yathrib. This migration marks the start of the Islamic calendar year. In Medina, he established the first Islamic state, creating the Constitution of Medina to organize the community. He led forces in crucial battles, which is Badr in 642 CE, Uhud 625 CE, and the Trench 627 CE against Meccan opposition. Lifestyle, he was known for living a humble and simple life despite leading a growing state. His life, actions, and sayings serve as a guide for Muslims' daily life and law. So now I have enumerated to you about nine kings, and also Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam lost most of his children. He lost his beloved wife, and after he expired, his beloved daughter also expired very close to the date which he died, and his grandsons and the rest of the family were also persecuted in the famous battle of Karbala. And this is known to everybody. And then after he died, all his followers divided them into different sects, and there was enormous violence and conflict which is continuing till date. So with that, we have specifically described some of nine rulers in the Quran, which is clearly described. And now I am going to talk to you about the rest of the talk is going to be about what happens after death, no matter who dies. The post death process in Islam emphasizes dignity, speed, and spiritual preparation, focusing on returning the soul to Allah and burying the body promptly, ideally within 24 hours. Key steps include closing the eyes of the deceased, immediately washing, which is called ghusl, and shrouding with the kafan, and salat al janaza, funeral prayer, and burial facing qibla. And duas, recite prayers and ask for Allah's forgiveness for the deceased. And so after the burial, the grave is dug 4 to 5 feet deep. The body is placed in the grave, and the ties of the shroud are loosened. Those present throw 3 handfuls of dirt while reciting a verse from the Quran. And after the person is buried in the graveyard and everybody leaves, barzakh, the spiritual and mourning process begins. And the barzakh, the deceased enters barzakh, which is a state of where which is an intermediate stage between death and resurrection, where they are questioned by angels Munkar and Nakir in their grave about all the deeds that they did while they were alive. Everything will be questioned. Every action, everything they did will be questioned, which they did when they were alive, and they have to give the answers for that. The standard mourning lasts for 3 days. This is among the people who are alive. They keep mourning outside while the person who has died enters the world of Barzakh, where he will be questioned about everything he did. There are many things that are very automated, like, for example, the smell from their soul will tell, this will be the summation of everything they did when they were alive. The darkness in their heart will tell whether is a very instantaneous and automatic marker of how they use their decisions in their life. Then they will be presented with the book of deeds. Those who have done good will be presented with their book of deeds in their right hand if they did good deeds, and their book of deeds will be given in their left hand if they did a lot of sinful deeds. And then after this, they have to cross the bridge of Sirat. Some of them will cross the bridge of Sirat like a lightning because of their good deeds. Some will have difficulty crossing it, and some will be so bad that they will have to crawl. The bridge of Sirat sometimes will be like a thin edge of a sword. It is so difficult for some of them, many of them, when they slip and fall from this bridge, they will fall into the fire of hell. So, this is going to be a very, very dreadful period, because this is actually the effect of everything they did in their life. And there is going to be a lot of fear, anxiety, and terror on the day of judgment, when they stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will be questioned about their scale of deeds and what good and bad things they did. This is going to be very difficult if you took any wrong decision or made any mistakes in your decision. And after all this, there will be the resurrection, where again, every mistake, every sin you did, every error that you made is going to have a terrible consequences when you are being resurrected on the day of resurrection. So, to sum it all, I would like to add, be careful what you wish for, and please remember that this world is, please don't think that this, like it said in the ayat, يعلم الحياة الدنيا لعب لهو زينة تفارق بينكم تكاثر أموالكم وأولادكم. If you think this life is just about boasting about each other's achievements, please introspect very carefully. Everything you try to do, every right thing, every mistake will be judged, like it is said in the Surah Zalzala, where it is mentioned very clearly that God will bring out even a small good or bad that you have been hiding, which is mentioned in Faman Yamala Miskhala Zaratum Khairan Yara, which states that whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it. Wama Yamal Miskhala Zaratum Sharayara, and whoever does an atom weight of evil will see it. Please remember that whatever happens in our life happens by a decree, and a decree is created by God. And even if you do not like it, you can pray to God to remove it, or if you have to follow it, please remember everything you do in it will be accountable. So kindly introspect very deeply and stop yourself from becoming jokers, comedians, and humor artists. And also kindly stop others from becoming jokers, comedians, and humor artists. And if you feel you are not able to take the perfect decisions, and you are making mistakes in your decision, and you do not have the right insight, or you have problems with your perception, if you feel the reason for that is an infection, you can visit our clinic, Medicare Clinic Soil 1920 in HSR Layout, Bangalore, and get yourself treated. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. Jazakallahu khair. This is Dr. Mir Masroor Hussain. And I have done my MBBS from Ambedkar Medical College, and MD Microbiology and Infectious Diseases from Mysore Medical College. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. Jazakallahu khair.